Kind of jumping off of last week, we talked about how to structure play dates, how to think about play dates, but which is helpful, but then also one of the biggest thing, and this could be like a multi-part talk, is about how we can effectively play with our kids and how we can think about play and what is going to be helpful within play, so that our kids openly play with us and not direct us within play, and flexibly join play and don't see it as a demand. Because a lot of times if we say, hey, come over here, I have blocks, we get a big no. And so then we have to think about how to get them to join that doesn't feel like a demand and that feels like fun, because the goal of play is to share joy and not have play just be a product focused play. So essentially similar to how we talked about play dates, a lot of it is setting up the environment for success with play and thinking about where you're going to play, what you're going to play with, and what your intention of the play is. And that's a big area that we set up in the classroom a lot, is how what the play is going to look like, what we're going to play, and how successful it's going to be. So the first thing I would say is the more chaos in the room, the less you're going to be able to be the focus of the play. So one of the things, like first step I really tell teachers is think of, you want you to be the focus of the play. You are the player, and the toy or the item that you're playing with is just really becomes the like funnel of how you are going to engage with that child. So it's not really about the toy, it's about you and the child, and the toy is just the catalyst of what's going to keep you engaged or keep you sustained within that play. And not the, hey, come play with blocks, but hey, come play with me and let's see if we can crash these blocks over or something like that, rather than the blocks being the focus of the play. First thing I will say is play really needs to be about the process. It is the process of the engagement over the product of what you're doing. If you're going to build like a Lego structure that has instructions, amazing, but that's really about the Legos, not the engagement. If you're really going for the engagement, then what you make is way, way, way less important than how you engage and what you're doing together with your child, or even if you're on a play date, than the actual product of what you're making. It's the engagement over the product. So if you're saying to a child, hey, let's do daubers or let's color, if you're going for a product, you're completing a coloring page, or you're completing an art project. That's about the art. If you're going for the process of engagement, it's about you and the child engaging with a dauber over making a beautiful art project. So if I am playing daubers with a child, my intention in that is just to create fun engagement. So we each have a dauber, we may have daubers in both of our hands, and we're going to do a daub, stop, maybe take turns being the leader with the daubers. I'm not worried about what we're making. I'm focusing on the engagement of what we're doing. If in the end, if you have a child that is not limited or challenged by fine motor and can do art at the same time as engagement, amazing. But that would only be possible if that child was also not challenged by fine motor. So where you want to start with play engagement is choosing things to play that are within their window of tolerance, within an area that feels really successful for them. So, what does that eliminate for a lot of our kids? Anything that has high language content, because the more they have to focus on language, the less they can focus on you. So, with pretty much any of your kids, where did I start the intake? Was in the movement room because, or the gym, or a place where there was not a lot of toys, because I didn't want to focus on language first. I want to build an engagement with more movement and body rather than language. What does that also eliminate to make competent play is really tiny fine motor type things, unless your child is great at fine motor. If your child is not great at motor planning, then you're not going to do an obstacle course. If your child is great at motor planning, then you're going to do an obstacle course. So, kind of similar about how I talked about play dates, is you want to build from their competence and not work on a skill at the same time as you're working on play. So, if I'm playing and I know my child, another goal I'm working on is learning their colors or learning their letters. I'm not going to do both at the same time, because play takes effort and takes really a lot of brain capacity. Same thing as like if I'm teaching my child to ride a bike, I'm not at the same time going to like work on their language skills. You really have to use your brain muscles for what you're working on at that time. So, first, thinking about what helps them feel competent, and then going for an area that is an interest, but not a high interest that is going to take away from what you're trying to engage with. Like if I had a child whose highly preferred interest was cars, it's going to be really hard for me to get in there with cars. So I'm going to choose that we can be cars, but not bring out my toy cars, because bringing out toy cars is going to then, or bringing out their bin of toy cars or whatever, then they're going to be really focused on their plan with their cars over playing with me. But if we decide we're going to be cars and we're going to move around the house and we're going to use like a hula hoop as our steering wheel, that's a great way to engage without getting overly focused on toys. And again, remember the fact is we become the foreground, toys become the background. So if I use a hula hoop for a wheel, we're still the exciting thing, not the toys, the cars that can be quite distracting. So leaning into an interest, because if you bring out whatever, let's say Duplos, and that's not something they're interested in at all, and they don't feel successful, maybe from a fine motor standpoint, or they felt a demand from somewhere else about Duplos, then you're already creating that smaller window of tolerance. If you bring out Magnetiles, and Magnetiles are a pretty easy non-fail. If they crash, they crash, but it's not hard to do even with fine motor challenges. Then you're already at a win of it's something they're competent with, something they feel is within their capacity. And maybe you bring some animals because you know they love animals, or maybe you talk about, hey, all your cars, let's build a garage. So don't bring out the cars, but talk about you could build a garage and then bring out the cars, and then you guys could play cars. You'll lose a little bit of the engagement once the cars are out, but that's a great way to buy into their interest, but also build something that's engaging for you. So really lean in and kind of hear what, even if your child's like playing on the floor, lean into what they're doing and build upon it, rather than coming in to the bedroom with a great idea, but something that might feel like a demand to them in the beginning. And that really shuts them off from the beginning. The most important part, I think, is how to play with structure, but not make it feel demand-ish, and not make it feel like you're the leader, but that you're creating a structure within the play that helps our kids engage and sustain the play in a more successful way. The way we do it at Fuse is really using play patterns. So we have different play patterns, and there are like some really simple go-to ones that are so easy and you can do with pretty much anything. It doesn't, it like toys, objects, anything. the two different kinds of play, there's lots of different kinds of play, but the two ones that I think are so super simple is doing things simultaneously and doing things in a connected, like we call it a sender receiver way. So either you're playing together, doing something at the same time, or you're doing something where you're sending and they're receiving, or you're the parts department, they're the builder. So I was going to talk about simultaneous first. Simultaneous is like what I was talking about with the daubers, where you have daubers, your child has daubers, and you're daubing. And maybe in the beginning, you're just sharing space and you're daubing. And then all of a sudden, you could turn it into where you're simultaneously doing something together with a start stop. Like maybe you're doing a stop, stop. You could also do it with variations of let's daub really fast. And then you daub, and then let them choose. Do you want to do fast or slow? And they can do slow or swirlies. There's lots of different things. You could take turns coming up with all the different ways that you could daub, but you're just doing it together in a simultaneous way, meaning you're both doing the same thing at the same time. This is something you could do when you're cooking. You could do stirring together. You could do like if you both have whatever sprinkles, any kind of ingredient, you could do a ready set, sprinkle, or you both have water that you're going to pour. It could be a ready set pour. Speaking of water, in the bathtub, great simultaneous things where you have little things that you're gonna, while the child's in the bath, there's so much engagement you can get because there's so much sensory input they're getting. So they're really engageable in the bath. One, you can get the markers that go on the um, bath tiles, and you could do like a color, stop. You could go at the same time. You could do, even with a simultaneous, you could do the taking turns of you color, I color, you color, I color. You're still doing it simultaneous. You're just taking turns with it rather than doing it at the same time. Um, Sensory bins are great for simultaneous things where you're both, maybe you have pasta or beads or anything, and you both get big cups and then you put them really high up and then you pour together at the same time to watch them come down. Or you can do scoopers and you both scoop and dump at the same time. You could both be scoopers and dumping at the same time. um when you're outside, obstacle courses are great. You could go, I'm sure you've seen a million pictures of the teachers. You set up an obstacle course and you move through it together holding hands. There's a whole video I did on just simultaneous things you could do with your kids, like going for a walk. You're walking together, you do variations with, that's like co-regulation is walking together, but it's also simultaneously co-regulating with each other. That you start really simple, just the same as daubing or drumming, where you're just starting with a start stop, but then you can move into start stop with variations so that you're moving down the sidewalk and you're going to go fast and then you're going to go slow, and you're moving together, but you're adding variations and you could take turns of who's going to come up with the next variation. It could be jumping, it could be galloping, all the different variations while you're just taking a walk. Now that it's finally not 0 degrees and snowy out, going for walks with your kids, even if it's literally just down the street and back, is so great for co-regulation, which is so important for all of our kids to get the idea of moving together and adapting speed and pace with a peer. It's so important for their social development and social regulation that any kind of movement based things you can do, even in the summer on the beach, moving, walking together, running together, but basing off of each other so that you're starting and stopping at the same time is really important. Thinking of beach, swimming pool, even in the snow, you could make snowballs and throw them at the same time. In the swimming pool, you could jump in at the same time. Really, any kind of moving and doing a starting and stopping with anticipation of ready, set, go. There was there's videos, I think, from all the teachers of in the crash room where kids stand on dots and do a ready, set, go and crash into the bean bags. Those are great things to do in a simultaneous moving together way. I had brought it up on the last call about play dates is doing scavenger hunts. Those are great moving together in a co-regulated simultaneous way of hide stuffed animals all over the house and move together carrying a basket and find the animals. The thing you want to do is really make sure your child is giving 50% of that engagement. So if they start getting ahead of you, drop the basket and be like, oh man, I'm way back here. Again, it's about the process of engagement, not a demand to walk with you. So just be silly when they get ahead of you. You can say things like, oh no, I'm way back here. And then have them come back or like, oh no, I can't carry the basket by myself. Anything that will get them thinking about, oh wait, we're doing it together. Something that really helps our kids that if you're in and amongst the hallways here, you're hearing all the time is like rhythmic singing. The groups will all kind of move together in a chant. It could be like as simple as like koalas are a group, koalas are a group. They just keep singing it over and over and over as they're moving down the hall. Because again, we're not putting a demand on language. The intention is moving together and regulating with each other. Holding hands is always how you want to start. And if you do a little chant, then it keeps them thinking about the rhythm of moving together. If you're in like daily lifestyle type things, you have to get the trash from all the different rooms. So you carry one big trash bag. You each hold the side of the trash bag and you move from room to room. And you can just call it like, here comes the trash people, here comes the trash people. And you move from room to room getting the trash. And you've gotten like 15 minutes of really great engagement. It doesn't always have to be play with objects. It can just be engagement because that's our kids really need to see that engagement is life, not just play. You can do the same thing with play and you can use cars and send them down a ramp. Or you can do magnetiles of putting the magnetiles on at the same time. Anything can yield into a simultaneous pattern. The other pattern that works really well, and you will see tons of videos of this from the different classes, is a sender receiver type pattern where let's say it's magnetiles. I'm going to send a magnet. At first, I could do it. I'm going to hand a magnetile to my child and they can be the builder. They can make whatever they want. I'm the parts department. I'm going to hand a magnetile. They're going to build. Then we're going to switch and they're going to hand me a magnetile and I'm going to build. Over time, that's your sender receiver. I'm sending, they're receiving, they're building. It could be a giver putter. It's all like one person has one job. Their job is connected to the other person's job. Sender receiver is really fun because you can add levels of variety to it or levels of a little bit higher competence of now I'm going to get a truck and I'm going to be over here with the pile of the magnetiles and I'm going to send one magnetile in a truck and then my child's going to be on the other end of the room, receive the magnetile, build, have to push the truck back to me. Then I'm going to put the next magnetile on. Then I'm going to send it back to them. So it's getting more and more of a 50-50 play of they now realize, oh, to get my next magnetile, I have to send the truck back to them. So it's having them work a little bit more at that engagement and how and what their job is within that engagement and do a little bit more of that problem solving. The same thing you can do with, let's say, the sensory bin. You can do where you pour the sand at the same time, or a lot of times when we have the sensory bin and it's sand, we'll have a sender and a receiver. I'm going to send you the sand. You're going to make the house. So I give a scoop of sand and then they plop it onto the sand castle, whatever house. And then they're going to hand me back the spoon. I'm going to scoop more sand. They're going to put it on the sand castle. So there's lots of ways to do different. Every play can have two different jobs that are connected to each other. Outside, let's say in the snow right now, we will have a truck that's sending all the snow down down the little hill, and then the person makes the snowman at the end of the hill. In the classroom, there is a sender receiver of someone's doing the glue stick and then someone's sending it, and the other person, it's like a glue or sticker. So that's like a giver, putter, sender, receiver. There's a gluer and there's a sticker. So the two jobs are connected, but one is doing one job and then sending it. That person receives it and does another job, but the two jobs are connected with each other. When you cooking, I always think cooking is a great thing because it really engages kids. You put them on a stool, they're standing, but they're not moving around the room. And so a great sender receiver is you make a ball, you hand it to them, they put it on the cookie sheet, or back and forth. They make the ball, they hand it to you, they put it on the cookie sheet. There are really fun ways if you want to be creative of if you have like a hollowed out tube, you could do it with cookies where you send, there was a video someone sent where they sent the cookie dough through the tube. The little guy caught it, put it on the cookie sheet. There's so many different things you can do with sender receiver with tubes or slides where you're sending a ball through, even like a paper towel tube or like a gift wrapping tube. You send a marble through a tube, and then the child gets the marble and then they send it into the marble run. Or you send a magnetile through a tube and then they get to build with it. Different ways you can create the same type of engagement where, yes, it's about building with the magnetiles, but you're a part of it. And the goal in all of this is, one, then them seeing you as a part of the play, and they're having to adapt to your actions, because you may take a minute, take a second to get the next magnetile. They can't just keep going as fast as they want because their action is dependent on your action. Whether it's sending a marble through a tube, sending a magnetile in a truck, sending a cookie to them to put on the cookie sheet, they are engaged with you, and they might give you feedback of, hey, I'm ready, or here comes a marble. So they're connected and they're using their communication around that. The biggest piece in terms of communication is both with a sender receiver, this giving, putting, sending, receiving, and doing something at the same time. There is not a lot of language that needs to be used, because the more language you use, the less focus it's going to be on the engagement. When I'm playing, I want that child to be thinking about me, looking at me, and not thinking about their language in terms of, like, I'll have families that'll be playing magnetiles, and all of a sudden we're in this great engagement where I'm sending the child, he's building, and all of a sudden the parent is like, wait, what color is it? And then the child completely loses engagement to think about what the color is, regardless if they know colors or not. It takes it away from the rhythm and the flow. You think about like dancing, right? You're not talking and dancing, you're dancing, because if you're dancing with a partner, you're completely in tune with their movements and how you're dancing together. Social play is really a dance. Language is just icing on the cake. So you want to go back to that social dance to work on the regulation, and then add in language, sure, to make it enticing. We do a lot of silly words here, or the chants over using language, but you want to, all of this is a social dance, and you want to kind of enhance their ability to notice, problem solve, and co-regulate off the dance, rather than just thinking about it from the aspect of language and what they need to produce with language. Because for a lot of our kids, that's pushing in a different way, which taxes them. And then we've just lowered their window of tolerance in that way. So that's kind of my two really simple pitches for play that's going to be successful, and you're going to be able to engage for a sustained period of time. The other thing I would also say with that is, if you're using, let's say magnetiles or Legos or an item, give it a small amount. This is why cooking's so great, because there's only so much dough. But like if they see a humongous bin of magnetiles and you start sending magnetiles on a truck, all of a sudden they're going to be like, whoa, we have like 100 to go. So that's going to overwhelm them. But if you just say, hey, let's build something with these, then they're going to be like, okay, I can do that. And then we can do a whole nother talk a different day about how to create these playful obstructions within play. But first, I just wanted to share some really go-tos around play, and you can use them within play dates. You set up the scavenger hunt. They move together simultaneously through the house to find the animals. You set up the car ramp. They do the ready, set, go release. So it's the same concepts work for play dates as they do and with siblings as they do for play with another adult. Questions you guys have or thoughts of my kid likes this, how do I turn this into a play pattern?
I can make a comment if no one else has any.
Great.
Good. This is sort of more like a comment, like an observation, and trying to get your thoughts on it. So
Yeah.
yesterday we were at my parents' house, and it was really interesting. Like we were trying to, usually when we got there and Cooper wanted to build a train track. And so we built this train track and then he ran away or it's just an interesting thing that I saw. Like, and then he just wanted to watch TV, and someone who is on this call whose screen is off turned on the TV for them. And then they were watching TV for a long time. And then I added to the train track scene that Cooper had made. And then when we got the TV off, he was like hooked. Like it was almost like maybe it was the fine motor demands like were frustrating to the track.
So did he not finish the train track and then he just walked away from it?
Like sort of, he'd made this cool scene, but I think it wasn't like perfect or something.
But he didn't know how to communicate to ask for help with it.
We were trying to help, but like I think there's maybe a lot of stuff was getting knocked over.
Yeah.
Maybe even from like a sensory standpoint, it was overwhelming because there were like people I like the dinos kept falling over because he set up this dinosaur situation.
And then what did you add to make him hooked? I'm just curious.
So all I did was put, after lots of trial and error, like connected, it was like this big loop, and he'd made this cool bridge situation. I just put a track in the middle of it. So like did one of those
connected
like
it, or did it make it?
It just created another track like within the circle.
Okay.
Like, his was a loop and it put a track in the middle of it.
So something about trains, which is like my love hate about trains, is there's a perfectionist setup to it. Like you're saying about the dinosaurs get knocked over. He has this vision of what he wants it to look like, but guess what? Layla's probably has a different vision. You may have a different vision. So he's into the setup of it. Mm-hmm. And maybe what you created allowed it to be about the process of moving the trains through it and moved past the setup into let's just play it. So sometimes you have to kind of get past of, okay, guys, we're going to do 2 more minutes of setup and then let's just play. And that may be difficult, but if there's nothing is for most of our kids, nothing is ever going to be perfect. And so it's infuriating to try to get the perfect, right? So he had to walk away from the perfect setup that he wanted and then come back to it. So sometimes if you just say, all right, when the timer goes off, beep, it's going to be all done. And then let's just play. Or as he's really into something else, you just kind of goes to the how many things are going to be out. So maybe have like 4 dinosaurs, 4 stoplights, 4 whatevers. So it's not endless setup. And then you can get to the play. And you may have to make those tracks work to get to the play part because the tracks have to actually go into endless loops for like Layla and Cooper to both be happy. So you do kind of have to be this like master manipulator while they're setting it up. So it gets to a place where they can actually play with it because the setup is first of all, the setup is not, it works for play if you engage in this, like, I'm going to send you a piece or get Layla to send him a piece and he puts it on and then trade. But if he's really into the setup, maybe Layla will be super excited if her stuffies can like hand him pieces. But then it has to get to a point of done. So then it can move to the next phase.
That makes a lot of sense. And like when you raised the expectation, one thing I forgot was that there was this picture on one of the boxes, and he told my
Yes.
dad to make it like that box, which was like,
Yeah, your dad's probably still working on it. Like it's
it's no, yeah,
impossible. Yeah.
not his skill set. Yeah.
Yes. So then your dad wants it perfect. So then he's getting frustrated. I would eliminate all boxes because I will never get it perfect. And again, now it's about the product over the process of playing with your dad. So eliminate the boxes and just put it in a bin because you'll never get there with it.
That is perfection. That is perfection in terms of process. Thank you.
Yes, it's really, you have to get, even like Magna Tiles comes with like some manual of these beautiful castles that can never be made. Take them all away because you're creating an epic fail. It's like if I had a cookbook that had this beautiful picture of like a bundt cake, I'm never going to be able to make it. So I'd rather just not look at it. And then you just get frustrated because, of course, he wants perfect. But if you don't know what your vision is and you just say, let's make a castle, it can be his creation.
And then he'll be so proud of that as opposed to
Right.
however.
And then it's about the process of grandpa handing him the pieces, him making it. And then grandpa's like, this is a great train track. Let's make it from here. And then what grandpa can do is just tweak it so it works without falling apart.
Which is inside of most skills. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, that's impossible too. But yes, that a little bit, if you take away instruction manuals, instruction manuals and like
Photos or
whistles,
whatever.
bells and whistles, batteries are the first two things I take away from anything that comes to Fuse.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. That's awesome. And just one other comment that someone made. I think it might have been Lizzie or something, but about how sometimes the kids can be really focused on the setup of the play and then like not know what to do next. So just how it's helpful to like have someone like carry it into
So
that.
that's where the setup can be. That's where you go into send a receiver or a simultaneous, like, hey, let's send these trains at the same time because they don't know how to play. And if you go into a very big pretend play world, that's really hard for our kids. They need some type of grounding. So going like, oh, I'm going to send my train down first. Then you can go, I'm going to go backwards this time. Or do you want to go first? Like something that grounds the play. And we're doing the same thing, taking turns the same thing, doing it at the same time. Or I'll send you the train, then you send it back with some pretend gravel or something. Starting with a pattern always helps them move from setup to play. And that is play, because if you think about it in a sandbox, if you're looking at neurotypical kids in a sandbox, what are they doing? One has a dump truck and one is building. They're sending the dump truck to the other one. There's some type of a social dance in there. Our kids just aren't savvy enough to get in there quick enough. So we have to overtly set up the social dance so they know what part they play in it. And then over time, they'll figure out how to dance on their own and they'll be like, oh, I'll be the dump truck. You make the castle.
And like with that, I mean, I guess it's part of learning the dance, like almost like the bossy, like situation, but I want to do this and I want to do this. And...
Yeah. So bossy comes from not feeling competent. Cause like, if I am dancing and I don't know the dance, well, I guess I want to be the leader because I don't want to feel vulnerable. So you can be like, oh, do you want to be first? I'm okay with that. So, and then start the pattern and make it really, really, really simple. Take the language away and a little bit of that bossiness dissipates.
Amazing. Thank you. That is amazing.
Yeah. And I would say, going back to like setup, needs a break, comes back. That's a great time for like, oh, everybody want to go get some chips and then let's go back and play. Cause then it like circumvents that it's not perfect. It's not perfect. Or you can be like, oh, we have the train track almost set up. Everyone want to get one train to bring to the track. So have the trains a little bit separate so that everyone goes and gets a train. And then it like stops the process of it's not perfect. It's not perfect. Everyone leaves for a second and then comes back. So you kind of create a break in the play to come back to the play after the setup.
That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Other questions?
I have a tangential question.
Yes.
Um, Today, I was trying to model for Caleb how to talk to his peers. And I said things like, ask them what their favorite kind of truck is. But rather than repeat that, he told me his favorite kind of truck. And then so I'm wondering, how do I get to the next level to help him to model that so that he can develop these play dates?
Well, I would never start with language. I would really start with, hey, well, it depends on where you are, but if you are at your house and his favorite thing are trucks, be like, hey, Caleb, let's go bring our trucks over and see which one Lauren wants to play with. You bring something rather than fully base it off of language because is going to be really tricky. But I would say, so we would never start with a WH question because that's hard. So I would start with just kind of like Caleb did of like, oh, I like whatever. Like I like bulldozers. And then you as the parent could be like, oh, I wonder what kind of truck so and so like. So you're doing the question taking with that at that point. But I guess my default would be to, if you want him to engage with them, first of all, if they're already engaged with something, go for him engaging in with whatever they're playing with. If they're playing with trucks, then he would go over and be like, oh, I love trucks. And then like they might offer him a truck, or he could be like, I like the red truck, to get him to have a truck. But um trying to get him to hear what kind of trucks they like. I guess if they, like one thing what Brooke would do, his speech therapist would have him have like, do you like red trucks or green trucks or front loaders or whatever, backhoes or whatever, like giving him choices, which is better than an open-ended.
Got it. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah, but is it more to try to get him into the play with trucks or trying to get him to engage, just generally engage with peers?
So latter.
Generally engage with peers. I think you're going to do better. It depends on where you are and what you're doing, but generally engage is with an engageable thing rather than language. Because where's he going to go after they tell him what truck they like? Then you're still going to be prompting him on the next thing. So then I would go with, hey, these guys are running, let's go run with them, or let's see if they'll play tag, something he knows that he can keep going without multiple prompts from you.
Got it. Yes. The impetus was that he wanted to bring his truck to school.
But wait, Josh, you're kind of cutting up. He wanted to bring his truck to school.
Yes. So I was trying to find ways for him to engage with his peers talking about his truck.
Okay, so great. So in that way, he could bring his truck and you could in the car make, well, if you had a piece of paper or whatever, or message Maddie and Leslie and say, hey, I don't know if he's interested, or Caleb really wants to know who likes trucks and who doesn't. And he could survey them and make a piece of paper with yes, no, trucks, or X trucks. And so he has his truck and he is going to go around and ask everybody, because he can definitely do that part of like asking the question, do you like trucks? Okay, so now Ethan is a yes. Do you like trucks? Haley is a no. And that's a way to engage them. And then they're engaging. And now then he can say, I love trucks. Oh no, Haley doesn't like trucks. And then they can talk about something Haley likes. And then he can bring that home to you and talk about like, oh, Haley doesn't like trucks. She likes unicorns. Maybe you should bring your unicorn tomorrow, Caleb.
That's a great idea. Thank you.
Surveys are great. All the speech therapists are really, really to get kids to engage with language with a purpose. Surveys are great, and getting them to like make connections, lunch connections of, hey, we both like trucks. That's a connection. We both have goldfish. That's a connection. That's how they'll get them to work on connect. Caleb definitely knows connections. So you could ask him to see who has truck connections.
Excellent. Thank you.
Yes. Other questions? I will, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, yes. Only if you have to, this is not,
Go ahead. No, I was going to say, I'll send you some videos when I do the recording from last week and this week. There's like some old videos I made of all these different play patterns that I'll send you guys as well.
Oh, cool. That'd be lovely. One, just kind of to get your take on it. So we had a recovery play day, a mending fences gathering with one of our classmates last week.
Great.
And we got ice cream. And
perfect.
And Maple was like masterful. Like we were sitting there and I wasn't prepared to like facilitate the kiddos' interactions together. And like Maple was masterful in getting them to do that. But like, what would you recommend? Like like we were sitting there, we'd like, I forget if we'd even ordered and Cooper goes, this is so boring. And then he like very obviously hit me on the arm. And then like,
so you have to get away from, because I think he's like, what is the demand of this?
Yeah.
And just start an I Spy game or something that has nothing to do with anything. And just start oh my gosh, guys, I spy something red. And, or start a challenge of like, I wonder if you got, I don't know if that like, if there's like, you know, ice cream places are kind of fun. You could be like, I wonder if you guys notice anything, anyone else here has chocolate chip or whatever. Like go for something that they can do together that you're just like the kind of catalyst of.
And that's basically what you did.
I just want to say, I think what I did was I kind of was like, I pointed out the ice cream cakes that were in the background, like, oh, look, there's so many ice cream cakes. There's mint chocolate chip. There's chocolate. Like it's literally just distraction with something that is like not at all threatening. Just like, wow, that's so many ice cream cakes. I want to eat that one. And what about
so then you go off of what I was just saying to Josh and make connections like, ooh, I would not like mint. Do you guys like mint? And then Cooper, and then you make it fun and be like, okay, guys, thumbs up if you like mint, blah, if you hate mint. So then it turns silly. And then it's like, ding. And then you look at the next ice cream cake and are like, I definitely love chocolate frosting. And then they give a ding or a blah or like an X. They love like Xing things. So then it just turns into, then it reverts back to what they're used to at lunch. And it's not trying, because it's a very high demand for our kids to have conversation. Like imagine if you go to lunch with someone and like you're still like, okay, whatever, I know a tiny bit of Spanish, but I don't know a lot of Spanish, and like our kids all know English, but everyone's working on the social part of English. And then you have to make this fluid conversation, very high demand. So you make it about something that doesn't have to do with them making conversation, and in the end they're making conversation. But when it's a demand, it becomes more anxiety provoking for them. So make it about the cakes, make it about I Spy something. They are great at I Spies. Like, oh, I could, or like anything like, oh, who has the same ice cream as I do? And then turn it into, I wonder if you added chocolate ice cream and chocolate broccoli, then they would think that's funny. Like anything that makes it silly.
That is perfection. That is exactly what Maple did.
Yeah. Great job, Maple. Come work at
They put like hot sauce in her.
Yes, totally. It takes the focus off of them and onto silly, and then they're having a great time together because they're connecting and the demand is off of them.
Perfection.
And or at a thing like that, when you're just sitting there, again, bring a whiteboard and then they squiggle drawings or like play like what's that name? Like, what did I draw? And then you draw something. Don't make them the drawers, but you draw something and they have to guess. And then they laugh at what a bad drawer you are. So you become the one in the hot seat and not them.
Amazing. So like, just like get them to make fun of us. Like,
yeah, in a way that because if they're together, then they're together. So if they're making fun of you and they both like can read, so you could do little like hangmans, little tiny words. And then they're working together against you. And then it makes them a team. And you guys are, it's like moms versus kids. And then that's great. And then they are together working together.
That is awesome. That is what we will do next time. Thank you.
All right. Yes, of course. I'll send you some other videos of just like simple sender receiver things that we have as well. All right. Thank you guys.